how not to be spooked by your wisdom. How wise do you actually acknowledge and recognize that you actually are? Sometimes I have conversations with people that say, oh, no, I don't have inner wisdom. Nope. And so they're looking outside of themselves for the answers or the wisdom or the guidance or the guidance, wisdom, inspiration, being told what to do or what not to do.
I'm just going to say that's media, isn't it? Watching the media, listening to the media, going, oh, that's it. That's the reason. That's it. And I call that Pac-Man. Remember Pac-Man, that game?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and it just came along and chomped you, and then you have to get as many points or eat as many things before it eats you.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what our mind is like. It is.
Oh gosh, yes. But that's not wisdom. That's mind blah 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 blah.
Debz is a stressologist. She will stretch your mindset to think bigger than you've ever thought before, with follow-through techniques that are realistic and achievable to blow any fear out of your mind. Moira is a mindset cultivator. She will help you align your personal trinity of self-trust, inner awareness, and self-confidence so that you discover and share your unique gifts and purpose. Together, their goal with these conversations is to share how our inclinations do not always work in our best interest and to provide the knowledge to leverage the gifts that already exist within each one of us. Their desire is to help you learn how to access the habits and behaviors that will lead to positive change and your best quality of life. Welcome to your deliciously motivated mindset.
Welcome, dear friends. Welcome, dear Deb. Here we are with another one of our... Here she is. Here we are with another one of our deliciously motivated mindset conversations podcast episodes. This one, OMG. We're going to be talking. And this is because of the time of year it is.
Surprise!
We're thinking of Halloween. Today is Halloween. Or tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Halloween.
But that's what country you're in.
Yes, it does. That's true. It does depend on what country you're in. We want to talk about how not to be spooked by your wisdom. And so I'm really intrigued about what little nuances and spider webs and tunnels we're going to go down into with this conversation. But before we get into this conversation, how not to be spooked by your wisdom, we're going to do our little check-in. So, dear listeners, if you've been with us before, you know that we like to do what I reference as our PEMS check-in, our PEMS. Checking in, assessing yourself on a scale of 0 to 10 on your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. And so the 0 to 10 scale, at 0, everything's awesome. You're present, you're poised, you're ease, harmony. And 10 is chaotic, discombobulated, stuck, OMGing. And the truth is, we move up and down that scale throughout our days. And is also something that I just thought of too, is that each aspect of us could potentially have a different number. Like you could have some kind of achiness going on in your body, and yet emotionally you feel okay. Or you've got a lot of chatter going on in your mind, but your body's feeling great. So this is just to take an overarching viewpoint of how are you on that scale of 0 to 10. Of course, the intent of our conversations is always to meet you where you are, and lovingly, kindly, compassionately ease you towards that 0. So, all that being said, dear Deb, where would you put yourself on that scale of 0 to 10?
Well, she started talking about your body and then your mind, and then my mind went racing on a marathon, and I went, oh, where's my back? My back feels okay. What about my knees? Yeah, I had a scratch on my ankle, my cough, and my mind ran a marathon. But I'm going to say I'm a 2.5. Okay. And by the way, I wrote a 2 down. I look at my 2 and I go, no, you're 2.5. Just so you know, that's where my head went.
That's the rabbit hole she went running down.
Yeah, that's the one.
interestingly, I had written down I'm a 2. So I thought that was kind of funny that you wrote, maybe you were just tapping into my energy and then said, oh, but that's not me.
Hang on, don't you spook me with your wisdom.
So, dear listeners, whatever the number you are at, we encourage you to just make a wee note of it and then maybe check in at the halfway point, and then we're all going to check in at the end of our conversation. So let's get into this. How not to be spooked by your wisdom. How wise do you actually acknowledge and recognize that you actually are? Sometimes I have conversations with people that say, oh, no, I don't have inner wisdom. Nope. And so they're looking outside of themselves for the answers or the wisdom or the guidance or the guidance, wisdom, inspiration, being told what to do or what not to do.
I'm just going to say that's media, isn't it? Watching the media, listening to the media, going, oh, that's it. That's the reason. That's it. And I call that Pac-Man. Remember Pac-Man, that game?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and it just came along and chomped you, and then you have to get as many points or eat as many things before it eats you.
Yep.
And that's pretty much what our mind is like. It is.
Oh gosh, yes. But that's not wisdom. That's mind, blah 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 blah. Right?
I know. That's it. That's Pac-Man. Yeah. Don't let him in, or let him in and turn around and eat him before he eats you.
Absolutely.
I think when we talk about how not to be spooked by wisdom, I'm going to start with actually saying celebrate. And the reason I say celebrate is, even though we don't want to be spooked by our wisdom, actually celebrate it has hit you. Like, celebrate that you are spooked by it, because you're going to dig in. Well, you are or you're not. You know, when I say celebrate, I mean celebrate that you've got something to look at. Because if it is spooking you, then there's something there. And if it's not spooking you, celebrate as well. Yeah. So that how not to be spooked by wisdom is the first one I would say is actually, it doesn't matter if you're spooked or not spooked, but celebrate it. Celebrate whatever's going on in your life, in your world, right here, right now, because it gives you something to look at and evolve from.
I love that. Oh, and P.S., something I did not say to our listeners is to grab your note-taking device. Oh, because we like to share lots of tips. And so I just, as you were saying that, I'll celebrate that I take my notes with a purple pencil.
Oh, that's funny. I've got a pinky color, pink and gold glitter one.
Perfect.
But
I like that. Yeah. I like that. To celebrate, whether you're feeling spooked by it or you're feeling comfortable with it. It's okay. It's wisdom. It's within you. You know, so the next tip that
can I just say something? Did you just say you had a pencil?
Yes, I do.
I've got a pencil too.
Oh, look at that. Yeah, I actually use mechanical pencils to do all of my note taking.
Okay. So that's a wisdom thing, that we're both in alignment. And that's why I just went, did she say pencil? No one writes with I'm like, no one writes with a pencil now. And I thought I was the only one who wrote with a pencil.
Well, unless you're Debz, Moira, obviously.
Duh. But I think that's those things, is recognize the similarities and not similarities. Just because you said pencil,
the similarities and differences, absolutely. I like that.
When you said that, I was like, no one writes with a pencil. I thought I was the only one. I've got a drawer full of pencils. I've got beautiful pens, and I occasionally use my pen, but I'm a pencil. Yeah, celebrate or recognize the similarities. And what was the other one you said?
Similarities and differences. So see, like you, I have a whole collection of pens over on the side there. This is purple.
I've got a gold and cream glitter one right here as well.
I have a gold one here too. See, that's a gold one.
Funny.
That's hilarious. But and it's funny because I do keep pens, because it's almost like that's the one that I'm going to write solidly. Like if I have to sign my signature, then I'll go and grab a pen.
Oh, pen, right? Yeah. A pen.
But I've always liked the mechanical pencils, and I have a purple one.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
Well, those similarities and differences come in our world often. And absolutely. And there's signs of your wisdom. There's signs of what's going on. There's signs of your alertness. There's signs of, well, anything really.
No, I completely
their
agree.
signs.
I completely agree, because these are beautiful signs of we see ourselves in other people and other, it's like the similarities and differences. Well, we see them because we have them within us also. You know how that it's the what you see in another person that you really, really like. Well, you have that. So that's a recognizing that. Likewise, the things that you see in people that pee you off a little bit, you don't necessarily have the exact same thing. I just need to put that there. But there's something in
Different
that behavior. Yes.
Yeah.
Something in that behavior or that mindset or that way of being that's triggering something in you. And so therefore it's a gift. So you're right back to that celebrate.
Celebrate, yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, those differences in others are there for you to recognize. There's a trigger in there, or there's something that you haven't looked at, or I love what you see in others. Well, they say that when you point at somebody, there's three fingers.
There's three fingers pointing back at you.
Yeah, pointing back at you. Yeah.
And then I think you said this once before. So if you're pointing at somebody, there's three fingers pointing at you, but what's the thumb doing?
Yeah, the thumb's that gun.
Up.
Yeah, that's it going. Yeah, I've got you. Got you. I can see it. Yeah.
The next tip that I want to kind of bring into our conversation is acknowledge. It's about, I think it's really important for all of us to acknowledge the depths of our wisdom. We are way wiser than we often give ourselves credit for, because a lot of us were brought up to go to others for answers, to have somebody telling you what to say, what to think, what to do, as opposed to just going, wait a minute, even if I don't know the answer right now, it's within me, and maybe I need to breathe on it a little bit. I need to write down the issue and know that the answer is going to show up. I will recognize it. So it's about acknowledging that I am a wise being, acknowledging that you are wise, that sometimes that wisdom isn't like, oh, I know the answer, or I know the choice right now. So, okay, but maybe it's not right for you at that moment. Because, and actually, before we hit record, I have a really good example of this, about just knowing that you're wise. Deb and I were going back and forth and riffing on different ideas about a project, and it got really sticky. And are
you going to talk about how we both got our insight?
Yeah. No, not really. But it was when we both just took a moment and stepped away from the entire conversation. And for me, my concept was, I'm not talking about this anymore, because it got all stuck and sticky. And then all of a sudden I had but how about this? And then we came back on camera and had started talking again. I was like, how about this? And it was like, bang, spot on. So there's the wisdom. It was already there. I just couldn't get it with my thinking process. It was just,
that's that desperation, isn't it? Yeah. Desperation over so I guess that's desperation over inspiration. I guess that's the next tip. But I do like acknowledging that depth of wisdom, and when we go into that and that you're wise, that's when you go back to that, celebrate that number one tip again.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got this. Or then it goes to trust, and we're going to have a whole lot of different things here, Debz. So just contain yourself here and just keep on this little piece of paper that you got in front of you, writing with my pencil. But it is back to that celebrate that, oh, I do have this. You are wise, and acknowledging that you have something all the way along.
Actually, there's just another wee piece about that too, is, and you may have examples of this yourself, about when you say to somebody, what do you have, or what can you do, and they immediately go into, well, I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. It's like, okay, good, right. But what can you do? So that's the thing about wisdom, because I'll have conversations with people, oh no, I'm not intuitive at all. Moira's really intuitive, but I'm not intuitive. So they have to come to Moira for intuitive answers. Well, actually what's happening there is I'm helping you acknowledge that you do have the answers within you. My job, if you like, is to hold space for that conversation to then go, oh, I didn't know the answer after all. It's right there.
Yeah, and I guess that then jumps into another one of trust. So let's just
we have to bring that one in here.
But I want to go back to that desperate versus inspiration one, that being a separate tip, because when you're desperate, you are so desperate and you just can't see clearly, you know, and we were like that, but we weren't desperately, you know, we weren't sweating, this is not working, we weren't angry,
Right.
like all the emotions weren't up. It felt forced.
Yeah.
It was like,
and there wasn't a resolution wasn't showing up. Like it wasn't going, yeah, this is it.
Yeah, everything flowed right up to that point of the date and time. And it was logistics.
Yeah.
The ideas flew. And so when it got to that logistics brain power, that wasn't, to me, that wasn't wisdom.
Yeah.
It was hard, like, okay, now we've got to talk. Like we've got the idea and the words flowed and everything just was beautiful. And then it went to the admin side of it. I guess that's
we've got to get into the mundane stuff now.
And that's the stuff that didn't light me up, going, how are we going to work this out? And then I've got to think about people in Australia and they've got you know, and it just got that real admin logistics side. That's when we got into desperation and frustration, and it brought up, it stirred up emotion. I was like, why is this not working? Come on, when Moira and I get together, everything flows. This is not. And so my head was going, okay, what about this time? What about this time? What about this time? And okay, let me just try and figure this one out. And my little piece of paper had millions of notes on, more notes on that than it was coming up with the idea of the flow. So we definitely weren't sitting in inspiration. That inspiration is that idea of flow. And then the moment we just, you know, I know Tony Robbins talks about change your state. That's literally exactly what it was. It's like, okay, I'm going to do this, you do that. We'll come back in a couple of minutes. And then when we came back, you're like, what about this? I'm like, oh my God, that's genius.
Yeah.
And when I left the office to do my thing, I was, okay, we both went to the toilet. I just have to say that.
It's a washroom break.
Because that's it. Yeah, because my head's going, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it. And I'm like, it's going to come out. It's going to come out. And often at workshops, when people are stuck, I say to them, go to the restroom. Go to the restroom and just, you know, go there. It'll happen by the time you come back in the room. And they're like, what? And I'm like, just do it. Just go. And they're like, okay. And they go, and then they come back. They go, you wouldn't believe I had the biggest breakthrough. And I'm like, I know.
It's the perfect example of changing your state.
It is changing your state, and you've left that desperation. I've got to find the answer. Everyone in the room's getting ahead of me, you know. And the moment, and I was doing my thing. That sounds wrong. And I'm like, okay, how's this going to work? And I'm like, it'll work, Deborah. It'll work. Came back in, and Moira goes, what about this? And I'm like, oh yeah, that is it. That will 100% work, and it works with the other, because we had a couple of other problems, and it just went, yeah, that works with that, and that works with that, and it just flowed straight away back to inspiration, just like that. Bang, bang, bang. So when you're in that desperation versus inspiration, you know, my suggestion is walk away. Tony Robbins, change your state, change your energy, whatever it is, but also celebrate that you've got this. Okay, there's something here to work on. Like, it's okay. That's it. And that's part of that, not to be spooked by your wisdom, but part of that celebration yet again.
Absolutely. Do you notice the thing that I was just thinking of about this desperation to inspiration is you're actually, when you're in that desperation, your vibration is sticky and stuck and bleh, right?
No one wants to be when you're desperate,
you're not repelling the answer. Right?
You're repelling energy. Keep away from me.
Yes.
You know, could you think of people who are desperate? When you see them, you're just like, oh God, oh, I really want your money, or I really want you to join my program, or I really want to be your client.
Please sign up for this.
Oh,
I really
God, that is. I'm running faster than I've ever run before when I see desperation. I just literally, I'm like, nah. But when inspiration is when it flows, and that is your wisdom. That is because it just comes from within, and away you go. You're just like, oh, there's no complications. You know, when you think of, like, people go to a moment when you've actually everything's just flowed. You're inspired. And
we've all had examples of that.
Absolutely. And it just feels beautiful. You just feel like
Mhm.
you're wrapped in a joyous bubble of love. Like everything's,
Big
and
love
then,
blanket. Absolutely.
yeah. And then someone throws a spanner in your works and you're like, I don't think so. Or, and that's that. So go back when someone throws that spanner in your tire or whatever, go back and celebrate. Go, okay, let me just get clear. Is this really what I want to do? You know, the universe is just asking me to look at it. Yeah, I've looked at it, and you don't have to strip them of any dignity. Just look and go, okay, yeah, great. Yeah, I've got something to celebrate. I'm going to check in on it. Got my little everything dotted, lined, whatever it is, dotted your I's, crossed your T's, and away we go again. And you're back on that path again, and you're back with that inspiration. But you just know with certainty, the more, you know, when people question you, the more certain you become about your stuff if you don't listen to the Pac-Man mentality.
Yes, so therefore, don't get spooked by your wisdom and just say, hey, I trust. Which beautifully brings us into our next tip.
Perfect. So Moira, you talk about trust.
Well, I made a wee note about it because trust is such an important piece. And we've talked about this before, about trust being an inside job. But the thing that's really important, especially with this idea of not being spooked by your wisdom, is that trust is uber important when you cannot see the answer. Right? So let's say you have a problem, like Deb was just chatting about that we overcame. We kind of got to flow on the other side of it. But let's say you have to make a choice or a decision, and you're like, oh my gosh, if I do it this way, then that's what's going to happen. If I do it that way, and you're getting all discombobulated and thinking, if I get this wrong, what if? But that's when you need to surrender and say, I trust that just because the answer or the resolution or the direction isn't popping or isn't coming to my mind right now or isn't making itself shown right now, it's going to show up. So it's about that coming into flow, I trust. And so if somebody asks you a question, I can't see the answer right now, but I trust I and know that I will recognize it when it does. And that can be a thing of just change your state, just go move your body, go do something else. Like really take your attention off and say, yep, I have the wisdom within me, right?
Yeah, and what you just talked about was exactly that. I trusted that we'd find an answer, like it would just come to us. And I trusted that you would find the answer. Like I had trust that between us both.
Yeah, that it would arrive.
That it would happen. Like there was no doubt an answer wasn't going to appear.
Absolutely.
But the thing is I didn't put a time frame and say, okay, I'm going to go for a break for a moment and I come back and we're going to have the answer then. I didn't even put that. Right. I just went, so I didn't put a time frame on. So when you're trusting, you trust that it's going to come in at the right time with the right energy for you. So it's not just, okay, I trust that I'm going to get an answer in 30 seconds or I trust that I'm going to get an answer in a minute. Like there's none of that crap.
Yeah, because that's not trusting.
That's right. That's putting your stipulations onto it. So I trust that the timing is going to be right at the right time, or the answer is going to appear at the right time.
I just had to open up my insight timer because the quote they give us a motivational quote every day, and this morning's quote was perfect. It's about you saying not assigning time. This quote is by Regina Brett, and she said, "Time heals almost everything. Give time time."
Oh,
isn't that cool?
Write that down. Yeah.
And so that's the thing, is that when we know, in time, I'm going to resolve this, or the answer will come in time.
Did that say almost everything?
Time. Yes, it did. Almost everything.
I'd say everything. I would say everything, yeah.
I probably would too. But isn't that cool? It's like give time time. You can't say, okay, if I know time resolves this, then you got half an hour. You can't do that.
Yeah, I think putting that, because then you're not trusting.
That's exactly it.
And then you're not jumping into your wisdom, and you're actually jumping into
crazy making thinking.
Yeah, marathon running. Am I 2? Am I 2.5? Where am I sitting? What's that number at the start? Yeah, I think that's
a wee bit of that.
And I think that I'm going to take it back to number 1 again. When that trust comes in, is then jump back to number 1 and celebrate. Celebrate that you're also delegating it to the universe, to God, to the higher powers of be, to whatever you want
to your higher
to your
self.
wisdom.
Absolutely.
What to your soul, whatever you want to call it. Celebrate that you've just taken something off your list to overthink about. Yeah. And you don't, like, it's delegating. You've just delegated it out.
Not for me to know right now, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
It's
and
like
knowing it's going to come back.
If I get stuck in my head, I have to figure this out. I have to know. Well, maybe it's not for me to know right now. And that's a total trust thing.
That is a total, or letting go, letting go. I think I'd like to give a couple of strategies on when you perceive shite comes in, and
okay, we're going to go there.
But the strategies I'm going to give are beautiful ones that we use ourselves often, and you know what I'm going to say. Know what I'm going to say. There's a hand process. There's 2 things I would like to say is the hand, and I'm going to ask Moira to explain that because she explains it so well. And the other one, which I'm going to explain, is the good, the 3 questions. So and I'm going to explain the 3 questions, and then Moira's going to give you a beautiful. She's like, okay, I am. Yes, Deb, I hear you.
I'll do that.
So when you're stuck in that and you can't trust and you're frazzled and, you're like, okay, you say trust, but I don't want to trust because every time I trust, and there's all these whole old stories that are coming in. There's one of the strategies I use is when making a decision is asking yourself 3 questions. Is it good for me? Is it good for others? And do I want to do it?
Yep.
And the truth is the first 2 are logical and the third one is your wisdom. So is it good for me to do a podcast with Moira? Yeah, heck yeah, totally. Is it good for others? Bloody better be. Yeah, it is, because I had feedback
that you would say yes to that, dear listeners.
Yeah, by crikey. And do I want to do it? Yes. Now, all 3 must be a yes. All 3 must be a heck yes. I'm all in, boots and all.
Yep.
Not is it good for me? I don't know. None of that. Or is it good for me? Not even a pause. Like, if it's good for me, yes. Is it good for others? Yes. Do I want to do it? Yes. Like, that's a yes. So then go all in. Go boots and all. Go all guns a blazing. You're in.
Yep.
And the first 2, good for me, good for others, are a head thinking process, which I've only just learned recently, probably about a month ago. Moira told me, it's like, oh yeah, it is too. I've never really thought about it. I've always thought it was a head process. And the third one is that, do I want to do it? Like, yeah, I do. And that's that third part. So that I just would like to share that strategy of the 3 questions.
Perfect.
And then Moira's going to tell you the now one.
So the other one, this hand on heart, and this is actually a process that I developed to help soothe your nervous system, calm your crazy making thinking. But the thing is, what you do is my preference is actually hand over your heart, and if it's a really intense thing, then it's both hands over my heart. But not everybody likes that. So it could just be, your hands together in prayer position, or clasp your hands together, or cradle your face. And basically what you're doing is you're really acknowledging that I live here. All decisions come to me when I drop into my heart energy.
A quick wee message before we get back to this episode. You can get access to a special gift Moira and Debz have put together for you. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift. When you sign up, you'll receive instant access to an inner peace kit and the 30 Days of Wisdom program. both of which is intended to help you feel deliciously motivated right away. Go to deliciouslymotivatedmindset.com/gift.
So you can just literally, if you're feeling stuck, you can maybe do those 3 questions, or maybe you want to just do this prior to asking those three questions, because it, like I said, calms your nervous system, which then helps you be really present, and then come from tapped into that wisdom. Because when we don't take a wee moment to just reset that energy, change your state, as you were saying, the Tony Robbins isms, then we're just going to keep going on that hamster wheel type of dialogue and feel like we have to do something, as opposed to, no, I get to choose. I get to choose.
Well, on that hamster wheel is exhausting.
Oh gosh, is it ever?
It's so exhausting, and you don't think it is until the end of the day, and then you're like, oh my God, I haven't eaten for like 7 hours or something. And it's just, you just go without thinking, and you're on and on and on and on. It's like game on. It's like you're on stage, game on the whole time. And no wonder you're exhausted, because you haven't taken a breath.
I know, it's almost like you come to the end of the day and like, oh my God, I've been at a 10 all day and hadn't even checked in. Right?
Yeah. I haven't bothered to self-nourish myself. I think, yeah. Hand on heart is one that I'm just going to say the one I love that the most, because I don't have to think, and I can do it in a public place.
Yeah, me too. That's why I love that. It doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah, no matter what's going on around you, you can just instantly put your hand on your heart, and I just feel loved.
Yeah.
I feel my love from my hand just, on my heart just goes, ah.
I know, I've said that before to people too, is that the second I do that, I feel this immediate warmth, which immediately takes my attention right down there.
Right to my heart, where I want to make those decisions, or where it's wise to make those decisions, over my head.
Absolutely.
Because the head is that marathon. Yeah.
And you know what? The other thing, and I was just thinking of an example of this, is that obviously I talk about this tip to everybody that asks me for help, or that I
think that's my number one tip ever.
but I think of this client, I was reminding her again and again and again, this is what you got to do. Remember, come back to this, come back to you live at your heart. And one time we were having this conversation, she says, oh, for goodness sake, Moira, it means I'm going to have to do it all the time, like every day, all the time. And I said, oh?
Yeah, and I'll be like, and?
Like, so? So be it. Because it's like, okay, so if you're in a nerve jangling type of scenario,
you can't overdo it. Like, people say I need a coffee to keep moving, and you drink 4 coffees. Well, clearly there's going to be, you can't overdose on hand on heart. You can't overdose hand on heart, and it will never, I don't believe it's ever going to lose its thing. Like, if you,
it's power or its potency. It won't.
Yeah.
It won't. Yeah. It can't, because there are some spiritual teachings that call this, I mean, obviously we're accessing our heart chakra, but it's also, to some teachings, called the seat of the soul. So for me, when I come into the seat of my soul, I've come home. This is the essence. This is the animating force of my spiritual essence, animates this physical form, coming through the heart. And so it's kind of like I'm accessing all aspects of me, which allows me to not be spooked by my wisdom and actually tap right into it. Right?
Good old wisdom Moira then again, saying it's called the seat of your soul. I'm like, I don't even know what it's called. I just know it works. That's I just know I get in my car and it drives and it gets there. And that's me. I don't need to know how this one works. I just know instantly. And I do remember Moira telling me, and I was like, oh, really? Can't be that easy. And yeah, it just worked, and it calms your farm.
Calms your farm.
Like right down. Yeah. Okay, so there's some strategies. I just had to get those out there. What I'd love to say is also with another tip is how not to be spooked by your wisdom is go back. And I know we talked about trust before, but go back to moments when you've actually used your wisdom over your head, when your intuition has actually worked and you have shat yourself. Probably not quite like that. I did lean forward and jump into the microphone with that.
Well, bleep.
Yeah. When, so I guess there's the listen to the body, there's listening to the body, but when your wisdom has spoken last time and you've gone against it, yes, you've had an electric shock. Think of it that way. You licked your fingers and you touch the electric fence. I was going to say, do you have electric fences over there?
Yes,
oh my God, Deborah, you think they're in the
boonies over here?
Yeah. In her country, they have electric fences. In ours, we also have them too. I actually just found out that there's a man, the Gallaghers, they're in Hamilton, where I'm near, and they actually created the electric fence. I didn't know any of that. Way back. No, and they're here. I know, because someone said, don't you know the Gallaghers? I'm like, who? What? And they're like, they're really well known in Hamilton. I'm like, no. What did they do? They went the electric fence. I went, really? Don't they do rugby? Yeah, they do rugby. They sponsor the rugby, Deborah. I'm like, oh, I know them from the rugby. Clearly. Yeah, clearly you didn't use my wisdom in that instead of listening. But I think the thing is, go back to those moments if you've got the time, and I encourage people to do it. Go back to the moments when you have chosen, your heart decisions, your inner wisdom, your soul's calling, and look at the beautiful value of that. Yeah, like go back and take the time to see it, because all the things we've given you, that trust is going to be so certain. Absolutely. And go back to the moments when you've made the decisions in your head. Is this good for me? Yes. Is it good for others? No. Don't want to do it? No. Go back and look at those and actually just go, yeah, you're right. I can see where I chose my head over my heart then. Yeah. I can see where I've done that, just so you can actually see that yourself, and you can recognize that, just to open your eyes and just do a checklist of your past experiences and celebrate each one. This is not for you to go into the pit and go, oh, poor me, I was stupid, I did that. None of that. None of that. No. The whole purpose is to go, oh, fancy that. I went to that event and my heart said, don't do it. I still went, and look, I got burned. Interesting. Right. Fancy that. So it's just confirming and showing you that level of trust, that beauty around. And that's going to show you that you're not going to be spooked by your wisdom.
No, and that actually all connects with the tip that I had said about acknowledge, right? So this is a great way of doing that, is to acknowledge there are many times when you've followed your intuition and it went beautifully. And then there's also many times where you didn't and you just totally ignored it. And all went to hell in the handbasket right there.
And I can tell you stories of where I haven't used my intuition and I've forced my way into do things, and it is like, and it will take you to a 10. At the start we talked about going into a 10 to a 0, and it is like you're standing in your Wellington boots going, oh, I've got to pull forward because I said to someone I'd do this on this time frame, and I've and it's now. That was me writing an article last night that I'd promised somebody 3 weeks ago, and the time frame was so tight, and I was like, if you don't do this now, Deborah, you're going to get yourself that's it. Totally. But that was me, and I was literally at a 10, and I'm like, okay, hand on heart, I can do this, just get it done. And I'd finished it, and it was the quickest time frame of article that I'd done in a long time. But look at that beautiful storybook about yourself. Acknowledge it, but also celebrate it.
Very important. Very important.
So I know we're cutting in our time. Is there anything you'd like to add, Moira, before we wrap this up? This is probably the shortest amount of notes we've ever had, I do have to say.
I think so, but there's been so many different layers to each of our tips, I believe. So the thing is to look at self-soothing if you do have the propensity to get spooked by your wisdom or your lack of access to it. And when I'm talking about self-soothing, it could be as simple as putting your hand over your heart and taking a few deep, deep breaths. or calming your nervous system by taking a deep breath in through your nose and then sighing it out of your mouth. These are the simplest little tools. I think that one is my favorite, that breathing technique where you take a full breath in through your nose and a long, slow exhale. I call that the off switch for the amygdala, which is where the crazy making freak, fight, flight, freeze, freak out response is coming from. So that can actually help you soothe yourself into the I am wise. I have the wisdom within me. That's it. Self-soothing.
Oh, sprinkle yourself in glitter.
Yeah, there you go.
Deborah.
Purple glitter. Purple and gold glitter.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Okay. Wow. Now we've got to go back into logical brain and wrap this up. Wrap this puppy up. So we're going to give you, if you didn't get your pen, biro, pencil,
or if you're one of these people that do pencil as well,
yeah, or note-taking device, iPad, whatever all those other things are. If you didn't get it, grab it now, quick, go, run, got it. Yep, great, fantastic. We are going to hit you with all our tips right here, right now, for how not to be spooked by your wisdom. Happy Halloween. So number one, kick us off, Moira, because
number one, celebrate that you are wise, and then celebrate if you do get spooked. Celebrate that, what's here for me to experience or learn from or see or unpack, lift the hood on. So celebrate, such an important part. Celebrate all aspects of you, right?
It does, and it just, celebrating also is like a calm your farm, just like the hand on the heart, but a different way of, okay, I'm just going to go, oh, this has happened to me, or whoa, that was freaky.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm going to celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Celebrate.
Yeah. I just thought of something else. I'm going to add another tip at the end. Of course
you are.
Add another tip.
Of course you are.
The next one was similarities versus differences.
Yeah, to recognize that.
And that came from Moira and I both using a pencil. And I was like, hang on, did she just say that? She said pencil. She said pencil. No one uses a pencil. My head went, no one uses a pencil. I'm the only one who uses a pencil. Blah, blah, blah. So celebrate that people are similar to you, and celebrate that people are different to you. Celebrate. And I know the old, what we see in others is within ourselves, positive or negative, in our own way.
Celebrate that. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Because there's people who can't do a podcast, people who just go, I can't talk. What if I say something wrong? What if I, and they can't. So if you can't, where can you talk? Look at your level of talking. Okay, maybe you don't want to do what Moira and I do, and that's perfectly okay. But look at what you can do, because what you have within you is also what we have within us is also within you. Our context is different. We can ad hoc and talk about lots of different things.
Oh yes,
on the fly. Yeah.
In fact, it's hard to shut us up sometimes.
I know, that's I'm like, time, Deborah, time, whatever. I'm the timekeeper. I'm so bad at that. That's all right. But we have that beauty in there. So celebrate those similarities and celebrate those differences.
Yeah, absolutely.
Within others. Yeah.
The next one we talked about was to acknowledge your wisdom. Sometimes being spooked by something means because you haven't acknowledged, I have it. It's here. It's within me. And it's so important to do that rather than be constantly looking at, I have to learn this, or I have to be mentored by that person, or I have to be told what the protocol is, or things of that nature. It's like, no, you're actually really wise already. Trust yourself, which is that's already part of this too. But just to acknowledge it, there is wisdom within you, whether you have allowed yourself to cultivate and lean into it or not. It's about really having compassion for yourself here too. Right?
Yeah. I love acknowledge is just an instant. As soon as you can acknowledge it, you don't have to agree with it and any of that stuff and decide when you're going to deal with it or whatever. Just go, okay, I can see it. I can literally totally see it. If I can see it, then I can deal with it when I'm ready. That's it. Just that's it.
Yep.
And that jumps perfectly into our next one, which was desperation versus inspiration. Because when you're on that crazy train, you're desperate and come on, I want an answer. And, but if you can actually just see it as is and go, okay, well, there's a problem here. I'm going to celebrate and I'm going to deal with it when I'm ready, or I'm going to get it when it happens, or anything. But when you're sitting in that desperation, it is just a hamster wheel and you go round and round and round. When you're inspired, the answers come within. That is your wisdom. Yep. That is your wisdom. They come, and they come so easily with flow, with joy, with inspiration. That's your glitter. That's your purple glitter.
Yep.
That's those sprinkling when inspired and the answers just flow. And so I know I mentioned Tony Robbins, and he talks about change your state. Just go outside for a walk, or go around the block if you're trying to think about something. We call it the block in New Zealand. You walk around the block.
Yes, they do that here too.
Okay.
It is called walking around the block. Even though I kind of live pretty rural, they'll still say walk around the block.
Your block is like up hills and round corners, and
that's true.
It's different. True. She's crossing water and all sorts. That's her block. But when we're living in that space of desperation, just change your energy, change your state, just walk away from it, and then it jumps into our next one, which is really, really, really important to bring us back to our heart.
Important is trust.
Yeah.
Such an important thing. Trust is I swear trust comes up on almost every conversation we have. That it's just like, no, trust that you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, making the right choices. But this is the thing that I put there, and I did mention it when we were talking about it, is it's really becomes even more important to trust yourself when you cannot see the wisdom or the resolution or the choice or the answer, is to trust that even though it's not present or it's not showing up right now, it's still going to happen. For every problem, the solution already exists. Just because you can't see it in that moment doesn't mean that you have to keep going on that hamster wheel and going crazy, 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 crazy. So I have to figure out. Maybe that's that energy that's keeping it away. So it's about, okay, just trust. It's not here right now, but it's going to show up. Right?
And Moira was beautifully said, time heals, I'm dropping out one word, time heals everything. Give time.
Isn't that an awesome quote? I just think that's such a beautiful reminder. Give time.
That's it. There's nothing more that actually needs said. Give time. Yeah. And you're like, oh, okay, right. Well, I will. Like it's like an exclamation mark. That's it. Mic drop. Give time.
Yep.
And I do believe time heals everything. Yeah, give time. Yeah. The next one after trust, and I know we shorten trust because there's so much. We could do a whole podcast just on trust.
Yes.
We could literally just do a podcast on stories of trust. But the next one I jumped into was strategies, and I talked about the 3 questions, and Moira talked about the hand on heart. So the 3 questions are, and Moira's correct in saying start with hand on heart. Start with hand on heart before you jump into the 3 questions.
Yeah.
So, but the 3 questions are, is this good for me? Is this good for others? And do I want to do it?
Yep.
And that's it.
And they all
but they have to be
yes.
They all have to be definitely. It's a yes, and it's an absolute with certainty. If there's any wavering, if there's any maybe, if there's any pause, it's a no. So then it's a 2 yeses and 1 then it's a no. Yeah. Don't do it. But the other strategy Moira talked about was hand on heart. So just do a quick brief.
So the hand on heart is I said that this is the seat of your soul. It's your heart chakra. It's where the decisions and choices are made from. This is you tapping into your own inner GBS. So what I like to do, and it depends on the intensity of the situation, one hand or both hands over your heart and just focus on your breath, right down into your belly. You can even just say to yourself out loud or in your mind, I live here, meaning I live here from my heart. I'm led by my heart. And then this is a really beautiful calming your nervous system energy. And then you can go pull out those 3 questions and it'll be easier and more clarity on getting the answers on that for sure.
Well, you've taken away the cloud, the clouds that's distorting your wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things I said about the hand on heart is you can't overdose it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you talked about one woman who said, I'm just going to permanently have my hand on my heart the whole time. And I understand that. Oh my gosh, there's days when I'm just, and that, you know, you feel like you're pushing your hand through your chest to come out the other side. You can't overdose putting your hand on the heart. It's not going to take any effect away from it. It's still going to work.
Yep, absolutely. And to your point too, you can do it wherever and whenever you are. It's not something you have to wait till you're at a specific spot or anything like that, right?
I have to wait till I'm out of public view. No,
you don't. No, you don't. The next tip that we had here was you suggested to go back, and I love this. Go back to times and review where you did follow your intuition and just really bask and celebrate in how well it went. But also reflect upon times where you let your head overtake and say, nope, I'm going to do it this way. And reflect upon how it maybe all went wonky on you and just acknowledge it. It's not to get into shame or blame or, oh, I suck at this. It's like, no, just recognize. And it actually helps to become much more in touch with your inner wisdom and not be spooked by it. It's like it's always there. It's like a loving parent always whispering in your ear. But you have to choose to listen, right?
Yeah, and I reference it as a storybook. I don't know if I did, but that's what I was thinking just as you're talking about. Look at that storybook, because that storybook's got you to who you are. And it'll pull back all those little things, celebrate similarities, you're going to acknowledge, it's going to bring in that desperate, like it's going to bring in everything we've just said. But also don't do it when you're in a rush.
Right. No, gosh, no.
Like don't go, okay, I've got 30 seconds in my day free, or I'm on hold with my telecommunications company. I'm going to look at it now. No, because when you're in that process and they answer that phone, you then have to throw it away, and you're not respecting yourself. That you respect the time and energy, which goes into a beautiful next tip we had, which was self-soothing.
Yeah.
You know, which Moira said, do that self soothing, you know, and it means there's a lack of access to your wisdom. So you know, it's all about doing what feels right. You know, your breathing. You know, Moira talked about your breathing, and for me, sometimes I just stand and look outside, because I have a beautiful view of the amazing garden we have. And when I'm in that self-soothing, you know, I often call it glitter sprinkling. As I just look outside and I can just see the beauty out there sometimes if I've got time to go outside. So it's just that changing your energy, changing your state again, and remembering where you live.
That's right. Love that. Beautiful, beautiful.
I'm just going to add one more in, and that is your body will never lie to you. So I know, I'm really funny we hadn't even put that in anywhere.
No, you're right. Because that's actually a very beautiful window into your wisdom, isn't it?
My body tells me, you know, and Moira does a process of using your body as a pendulum.
That's right.
You know, and she talks about that, but my body tells me yes or no, or oh, that feels right. And I have goosies. I have a physical reaction when people tell me a lie, or I know it's not right for me. Like my body tells me if you're eating junk and then you spend 2 hours on the toilet, you know already that junk that you've eaten, your body's just detoxing it. So celebrate you're on the toilet and it's getting it out as quick as it can be. You know, celebrate these things, because your body doesn't lie. Right. Your body wants to keep that wisdom within you. You know, that body wants to tell you this is right. Stay on track. You're doing well.
For you. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, when we have these accidents or these medical conditions or something, you know, we've missed the boat somewhere, and it's just bringing you back to that celebrate and acknowledge and look at it. You know, take the time, self-soothe, take the time to honor yourself for this.
See what the guidance is. oftentimes, and people don't realize this, that the gut does have a lot to tell us, that we need to listen. What's your gut instinct about something? That's a doorway into your inner wisdom.
Yeah, so stop the spooky.
Releasing the spookies.
Yeah, perfect. So that's us. How not to be spooked by your wisdom. Wow, what a beautiful, I didn't think it would go like this. Surprise. I obviously have assumptions of what our podcasts are going to go like. What a beautiful way. Yeah, no ghosts in there. No ghosts in there. No, nothing.
Didn't even say boo once.
Oh, yeah, what's going on? That's not right. That's not right. So that's us today. What we did at the very start, Moira talked about your number of where you are emotionally. We talked about a 10. We talked about a 0. Our intention is to bring you close to a 0. I was a 2.5. Moira was a 2. Listeners, you had a particular number, and then at halfway, we got you to check in and check that halfway mark. So where are you now? Like, listeners, let us know. Put it in the comments where you're at. But Moira, where are you?
I'm a 0. But of course. How about you?
I'm a 0, and I've been muting all the way through this whole thing.
Yeah, you have.
Because I've got the hiccups, or I've got something going on, or my throat, or I've all the way. But in that last, I have to giggle because it only literally stopped when I talked about the body reactions.
See?
I went, when did
That's
that
why
stop?
Your body was making sure you got that tip in.
Yeah. I go back and I go, when did it stop? It literally stopped when I talked about the body. I've been muting all the way along here, hiccuping, doing all sorts. So I just have to giggle because I'm like, body reaction. So that's also probably telling me that you need to just shush and let Moira talk and not interrupt on everything. It's probably if I go into my head over my heart. But we're both 0s, people. We're both 0s out of all of this. So where to from here? How not to be spooked by your wisdom. If you like this, the next step is to share this podcast with those you care about.
Yeah.
Share those, share the wisdom that you got. And don't be afraid of this wisdom that you have. Your tribe is important around you, and we have an amazing Facebook group. Join our Facebook group, comment in there, share your wisdom, and happy.
Let us know how this feels to you.
Yeah, definitely. And happy sad Halloween, everybody. Keeping it balanced. Do boo. There you go. There's your boo. There's your boo. Hey boo. Yeah, that's it. So thank you for joining us today. What an inspiring conversation. How not to be spooked by your wisdom. Happy Halloween, everybody. Thank you, Moira. Thank you, Internet. Thank you, mute button. And thanks, listeners, for joining us today.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, dear Deb. Thank you, listeners. This has been a wonderful conversation. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.